Dave Barity here with another Slide Makeover Video Podcast based on the ideas in my book, The Visual Slide Revolution. Today's slide, actually slides, comes from a newsletter subscriber, sent them in and said, Dave, we're struggling. There's a lot of text on these slides, but we really don't know what we can do, how we can make them more visual. Do you have any ideas? So let me show you what was sent in. Now, they sent in a whole presentation. I just picked 4 of them. This is a set of slides that talks about the extent of their operations, basically what they do in their operations in the NPP programs of this particular organization. So we've got slide 1 talking about the CanEx programs. Then we go to slide 2, and I want you to take a look at the top of slide 2. And when I see the word continued, that gets me concerned. Anytime I see the word continued, it gets me concerned. Now, I got to tell you, one good thing about continued is they didn't try to jam everything on one slide, which unfortunately is what some people try to do, and we've all seen those. But when I see continued, what it means is that you have a long list of information, and what you're going to do is you're going to present it over multiple slides. The risk you run, and in fact I think it's almost universally something that happens, is that the audience loses context when you move from slide to slide. They can't remember what was on the previous slides. And it's not just 2 slides, but we have slide 2, we have slide 3, we have slide 4. Now, by the time we get to slide 4, I would say there's very little chance that your audience remembers what was on slide 1. And again, because it's all text, there's a lot of reading going on here. So they can't really figure out, they don't understand, how does this relate to what was before? Were there things that were similar or not? I don't know. Were there duplicates? Is this stuff missing? I have no idea because it was so long ago in terms of the amount of information that went into my brain. I really can't remember it. Whenever you have a long list of information, the key thing you need to do is to figure out how do we group it so that we can talk about it in chunks for the audience, because the audience can only take in and understand information in reasonable sized chunks or pieces. So let me show you how I started to redo this. Folks, our NPP Operations covers 6 groups of activities across the various locations. First group of activities are our CanEx activities. And in that area, we do whatever it is. Remember that big list from slide 1. Then we have a group of activities around financial services operations. This is banking, insurance, and again, talk about those particular ones. Our base, wing, ships, and deployed operations. In those areas, we do Our food services, obviously, this gentleman is really enjoying one of our meals. In addition to the special meals, we do Of course, we have to support all of the operations that go on. So we have finance, HR, IS groups that support everything that goes on. And then finally, we have our cultural activities. We have museums, we have sports, we have and whatever it is. Now, depending on what level of detail you need to go into for this particular audience, you may leave it at this level of detail so they understand there are 6 areas and get a sense of what it is that you want to do. If you need to go into more detail with your audience, I would take each one of these areas, give it its own slide, and go into the details. And group things that are related. For example, financial services. I don't know if you noticed, but they had financial services in at least 2 different slides. And it would be very hard as those 4 slides went by for you to be able to understand that actually there's some services on slide 4 that go with some services on slide 2. By grouping it, we then can talk about them together. So here are some of the lessons that we learn about presenting a long list of information. First of all, group that long list into 4 to 7 groups and use a visual to represent each of those groups. I simply went to their website for those visuals and found that, they already define a lot of those areas, and they had visuals that supported them. So they already know that there are these groupings. It's just not represented in their presentation. So group into 4 to 7 groups with those visuals representing each group, and show all the groups first so that your audience has context for what it is you're going to talk about. Now that may be the only context they need, depending on what level you're going to in this presentation. But if you're going deeper, show each group on its own slide and outline the details about that group that you need the audience to know. So you may need to go into depth about it in certain areas, show some visuals. Here more of the stuff that we do that's specific to this particular group. if you need to. Again, depends on the level of your audience. And sometimes those groups need to be subdivided into subgroups because there's a hierarchy of the information that we need to present. So if you have a long list of information, don't do the continued slide method, which is far too often what we end up doing because we really don't know what else to do. Here's what you do instead. Group it into 4 to 7 groups. Use visuals to represent each of those groups. Show them all together so people have context for what you're doing. Then break them down as necessary. For more information on the book, go to www.visualsliderevolution.com. For more information on my training, consulting, and other resources, go to www.ThinkOutsideTheSlide.com. And for some pre-done slides that you can just drop in and customize, www.pptcontenttemplates.com. This is Dave Parody with another Slide Makeover Video Podcast.